Good morning, everybody. My name is Anwar, and this is my partner Cesar, and today we're going to do our presentation on consumerism. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to take a moment and just imagine this. I want you guys to imagine about my lovely friend Cesar. Just think of a black hole and then just Cesar in the middle. So now think of Cesar sleeping on a nice bed from IKEA with a big blanket, a nice big mattress, and some nice pillows, and he's sleeping and snoring during his sleep. So now think of Cesar waking up from his bed, the one from IKEA, and he walks to the washrooms to, kind of tidy himself up, make himself clean, and he washes his face, and he takes out his favorite toothpaste, which is Colgate, and it's from Walmart, and he brushes his teeth, and he gets that done with, and he takes a shower. So now once he's taking a shower and putting on his clothes, Cesar makes his way down to the kitchen, and he's surprised with his favorite cereal on the kitchen table, which is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So what Cesar does is he gets his bowl out and he puts the cereal inside and he eats it. So now once Cesar gets a full belly with his favorite cereal, he walks outside to get inside his everyday lovely beautiful car, as you can see, to go to work. So now the question is, ladies and gentlemen, what is Cesar? Ladies and gentlemen, Cesar is a consumer.
What is consumerism? Consumerism is a social and economic system that emphasizes the acquisition of goods and services as a measure of person's well-being and status. So in simple terms, it is the collection of goods and services to make up for a person's identity and well-being. Critical race theory, on the other hand, is a framework that explores how race and racism intersects with social and political power structures. And the link between consumerism and critical race theory lies in the way that consumerism perpetuates and reinforces racial inequalities. Advertising and marketing campaigns often use racial stereotypes to target specific demographics and kind of perpetuate harmful racial biases and reinforce systemic inequalities. Additionally, consumerism can create the illusion of equality with the ability to purchase goods and services that seems to level the playing field, when in reality it does not. However, this ignores the reality of systemic racism and the way it shapes access to resources and opportunities. Moreover, critical race theory highlights how consumerism can be used as a tool for resistance and empowerment. Now, let's look into the history of consumerism. The theory of consumerism can be defined as the preoccupation of society with the collection of goods and services. It is a phenomenon that has been present for centuries, but it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution in the late 18th century and early 19th century that it began to take a more significant role in our society. During this period, the production of and availability of goods increased dramatically, and new technologies made manufacturing more efficient. As a result, there was a growing emphasis on consumption and the acquisition of goods as a means of demonstrating social status and personal identity. The rise of department stores and mass advertising in the late 19th and early 20th century further fueled this trend. And in the post-World War II period, consumerism exploded in the US and Canada and other developed countries as the economy boomed. People had more disposable income to spend on goods and services, and advertising played a significant role in promoting the idea that buying more things would lead to greater happiness and an overall better quality of life.
So here are some theorists who had an effect on consumerism. So the first one is Thorstein Veblen. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Veblen, an American economist and sociologist, wrote extensively on the topic of consumerism. He suggested that consuming served as a way to express social status and class identification, in addition to meeting basic needs. Veblen used the phrase conspicuous consumption to characterize this phenomena, in which people purchase things and services not out of a sense of necessity, but rather to impress others with their affluence and social standing. The second theorist is Jean Baudrillard. Jean was a French philosopher and cultural critic who who wrote extensively on consumer culture in the later half of the 20th century. He argued that modern society was increasingly defined by a hip- hyperreality in which symbols and signs had become detached from original meanings. Jean believed that consumerism was a key driver of this hyperreality, as people's identities and desires were increasingly shaped by the images and messages presented to them through advertising and popular culture. He argued that consumerism was a form of simulation in which the distinction between reality and representation had become blurred. So now for some key concepts. The first one is materialism. Materialism is a philosophical and social belief that emphasizes the importance of material goods and physical possessions over other values, such as spiritual or emotional well being. This means that materialists place a high value on acquiring and possessing material possessions, such as wealth, property, and luxury goods, and view them as essential for happiness and success. A second one is branding. Branding is the process of creating a distinct identity for a product or service. Strong brands are often associated with quality, reliability, and prestige, and they can create a sense of loyalty among consumers. And lastly is consumer activism. Consumer activism is the practice of using consumer power to influence businesses' practices, government policies, and social issues. This can involve boycotts, social media campaigns, and other forms of collective action to demand change. So now about the relevance of the topic. Consumerism is highly relevant in modern society as it plays a significant role in driving economic growth and shaping cultural values. It refers to the social and economic phenomenon of people acquiring and consuming goods and services beyond their basic needs. One of the key contributions of consumerism is its role in driving economic growth. Consumer spending is a major driver of economic activity and has a significant impact on the gross domestic product, which is GDP. In fact, in many countries, consumer spending makes up a significant portion of the GDP. Businesses rely on consumer spending to drive demand for their product and services, which in turn creates jobs and generates economic growth.
Critique. Now, although the theory of consumerism may be a vital and important system due to the benefits it provides to a flourishing economy by mass consumption of goods and services, I believe that the underlying philosophy is deeply rooted in a shallow and materialistic perspective on life and strays away from important things like relationships, personal growth, and experiences.
Thank you guys for listening to our consumerism presentation.
We hope you learned something new about consumerism and how it connects to critical theory.